You wanna know what she said, she might just change your life.
And it is our Monday, and today we are talking hair, Christine.
Yes, we are. And not only hair, but this is the season. This is the beginning of the tsunami of weddings. And, from a bride's perspective, it's one thing, but from a hairdresser's perspective, it's another. And there are a lot of things that people don't know. So we have Jason Kearns joining us today. Erin's sick, probably doing too many weddings.
I think so,
Erin
maybe.
O'Brien, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would you tell a bride and her party the day of the wedding?
I wouldn't tell them on the day of the wedding. That's the
Okay.
problem.
Planning ahead, yeah.
What would you
It
tell
needs
them
to be
ahead of
told
time?
beforehand.
Okay. So what are some tips?
Weddings tend to get, they can either go smooth or they can be on the rough side, and it all has to do with organization.
Do you not think it has a little to do with nerves, though? I mean, you can be
Well,
as
on the day,
organized as you
it's
want.
nerves.
Yeah.
On the
And-
day, it's nerves, but
Oh,
the
I don't
prep
know.
work
I think
beforehand.
I'd be like 3 weeks ahead. I know
Yeah.
brides that are just
Well,
Godzilla.
But, Jason, say a young woman has now become engaged, she's set the date,
Right.
and perhaps has gotten to the point where she's gone and she's pretty much selected the dress and what the bridesmaids are wearing.
Mm.
And it's, let's say, 6 to 9 months before the wedding. How soon should they start thinking in terms of what they want their hair to perhaps look like?
I would say 3 months beforehand.
Okay.
Do you
3 months
suggest
beforehand.
that they come in and have their hair done, have a sort of a trial, like?
I think what they really should do beforehand is kind of get organized and kind of get a feeling for a look that they want to have,
Right.
and then move on from there, and realize the time that's involved. If they want to do trial runs beforehand, that's good. But you don't only have the bride. Where the problem comes in is you got the bridesmaids,
Mother of the bride.
and then you have mother-in-laws and
Yeah.
mothers.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. Bridesmaid, yes, but I mean the rest. I think on the day you need to keep it smooth
Yeah.
and enjoyable,
Well,
because it is a fun day. It's supposed to be a fun day, and it's supposed to be, the best day of your life. And
But
all
is
of this
it
kind of
okay
stuff.
to change your mind? Let's say you pick a style. Is it okay to change your mind the day?
Of course.
of?
I mean, I think it's okay to do whatever you want, actually. But I mean, just remember that every time you make a change and you want to have a trial,
Yeah.
it costs.
Of
Yeah.
course.
And
But that's an
leaving it
investment.
to the last minute sometimes is a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, now I can speak to this because this is something that going back many years back when I was getting married, I kind of in my own head had a vision of what I wanted, but never did I go in and plan ahead, which, you know what, if I could go back, and that's one thing I would do over, because that's, and I didn't hate my hair, but I wasn't thrilled with it, and those are the pictures you have.
You're stuck with them for the rest of your
You
life,
are
or your
stuck with
married
those
life
pictures, and I remember that day as well. My mother-in-law, who was not from in town, so she went that day, and she was not happy. There were a whole lot of unhappy hair people that day.
Yeah.
Well, I think as well that you've got a situation where you've got out of town guests that want their hair done. Sometimes you have mother-in-laws and mothers that are out from out of town and they want to get their hair done, but everything's left to the last minute,
Oh yes.
and that's where the problems come in. But I think if you're really organized, you can save a lot of problems for yourself.
So what about things like, okay, I'm getting married in 3 months. How should I time things like haircuts, and what about washing? Should I wash the day of? Should I have my hair cut 2 or 3 days before? Or how should I time all
But
that?
it depends if you've got long or short hair. If you've got long hair, on that day the haircut is not so important because you're actually styling it,
Right.
and that should have been done a few weeks before.
Okay.
If you've got short hair, sometimes people get their hair cut and they always find it a little bit too short in the beginning, and then after a week or two it
Yeah.
kind of grows in for it to be perfect for them. And I think you should know yourself when you've got short hair, that time when it starts looking absolutely perfect. Not that I'm saying it's not going to look perfect when you leave the salon, but what happens is some people just find it a fraction too short.
Right.
when they
So
get their hair cut.
basically, short answer is probably have your hair cut a few weeks ahead of
Yeah,
time.
2 or 3 weeks maybe.
Yeah.
I think so. And with washing, well, if you're going into a salon, you're either going to get it washed there.
But what about if they come to you?
But that's what I'm saying. If they come into the salon, they're normally getting it washed that day. Some people, like myself, I would rather have it washed the day beforehand because I find it a lot more manageable.
I was going to say, especially if you're doing
Yeah.
some kind of an updo or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not so fly away and you're a little bit more control.
Yeah.
So what are the styles? Have they changed? I remember when I got married, I had an updo, and I hate updos.
Yeah.
I don't hate them on anybody but me. I don't like them. I wear my hair the same all the time, regardless of the occasion, which is probably not a good thing, but I'm comfortable. But I got, my mother pressured. I got pressured into it because it was a hairdresser I didn't know. So, but anyway, what are the styles now?
I think you have to take in the season. So you've got basically summer, spring, fall,
Right.
summer, winter. So most people during the spring and the summer and maybe early fall, they want that kind of very, very loose kind of look that works and is not too structured.
So what does that mean? Just if
Well,
you
I
have
mean
long
that
hair, you
it's
just
not
have it
so
down?
it's not so placed, and then you've got other people who want their hair placed. And I think things are brighter in the summer and brighter in the spring and in the winter. There's a different kind of feel it takes onto everything. You're indoors, you're in a much more controlled environment, whereas in the summer, a lot of people are more outside. They want it more outside. They want it more fresher and just. I think this looseness of being outside and airiness.
Right. But do you find a difference between, say, the young bride who's gone and gotten the simulated princess gown that she wants to be her favorite Disney princess and do the full on Cinderella, and perhaps against the mature bride who's going maybe second time around?
Right.
What are the trends we're seeing that way?
I think that you're seeing, with a young bride, you're seeing a lot of loose hair. Even if
Yeah.
it's up, it's loose, it's softer.
Sort of the bohemian look?
I don't know whether it's a bohemian look or not. I just think it's not as tight and it's not as placed on the head. It's just more relaxed. But, you get that type of feeling, but then sometimes the clothes are not relaxed.
Right.
They're fitting tighter or they're a little bit more dramatic. And, you've got makeup too. There's a different kind of makeup that you wear during the day than you would wear for an evening wedding.
Right.
And if it's a second time around, well, it's hard to say second time around because people do not normally go into such a lavish kind of
That's
wedding.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's more toned down.
It's funny because I was with a group of people on the weekend talking about how everything's gotten more casual. In terms of dress at work and I mean, except for certain situations, we've generally, you go to a restaurant on a Saturday night, a
Or
very
the theater.
expensive restaurant,
Yeah.
or the theater, and people will absolutely come in jeans, high heels, a top. I mean, it's not like the old days, maybe 30
Yeah.
years ago, where people wore the little black dress, right, for dinner.
Yeah.
So but in weddings, it seems to have gone. I watch these wedding shows. People are like wearing $15,000 dresses, so I'm assuming that the hair kind of has to go with it. You're probably
It
getting
should
hair
go-
extensions and diamond tiaras and.
Yeah, I mean, I think fortunately these days when young people are getting married, they're out for it to be much more fun than, let's say, a mature person did the first time around. A mature person, the weddings are always so serious and so placed and just so contrived. Yet now people just want it loose. I mean, I've got friends of mine, they're getting married soon. Or their daughter's getting married. And she just wants a party. She just wants a party and have a party after, and enjoy that party and enjoy the wedding. She doesn't want it so structured that it's going to be a
So
pain.
what's her dress going to be like, and what's her hair going to be like?
Her hair's going to be very loose. It'll be half up, half down. Her dress, actually, I think she's going to a second-hand store for a dress.
See, I love her.
I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's what she wants to do. They don't have a lot of money, and as you know, oh, as we all know, weddings can cost a fortune.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I don't know. I guess it's relative to how much money you have.
Mm-hmm.
This is what she said on Canada Talks 167 Sirius XM, and we are talking to Jason Kearns from Kearns & Co. about weddings and hair.
Well, I'm kind of wondering as well, because sometimes the hair it comes and goes by the headpiece you have. And are we seeing as many people coming in with, like, I remember
Well,
the
I think
tiara thing was huge.
And
I really
veils.
think that when you're getting that kind of a situation, that you really need to involve the hairdresser a little bit more,
I think so too, yeah.
so that nothing goes wrong. You should really be taking that hairdresser in way beforehand and saying, look, this is what we have to work with. How are we going to work our way around it? What happens after the hairdresser comes off at the party in the evening?
And it still has to look good. Yeah.
It's still got to look good.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're fortunate enough that you can have a hairdresser with you all day, that's great. But, you know, you've got different scenarios with hairdressers and situations that people want. And as you said, people will pay $15,000. They'll pay more for a dress, and they'll pay, you know, $1,000 for a pair of shoes. But when it comes to their hair, they don't realize the amount of time it takes. And a lot of people say, well, why can't you come to my house and do it? Well, 9 times out of 10, it's on a Saturday or it's on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And when you're taking a hairdresser away from his work environment, you know, you've got traveling time there. It might only take an hour to do her hair once you're there.
Well, it's not just her hair, though, isn't it? All the bridesmaids and the
Sometimes
mothers-in-law.
it's all the bridesmaids and everything else. And you've got traveling time there, you've got traveling time back, and you've got time when you're there. And basically, a hairdresser's day is shot
Yes, it would
if
be.
he's going away to do somebody's hair.
Yeah.
Unless it's been really pre-organized and everything's done very, very early in the morning. That gives him time to get back to the salon or her to get back to the salon to take care of their own
Right.
clients as well.
Right.
But it can be an expensive project, proposition, a wedding, even for hair. And I think people need to realize that. They need to work out their costs beforehand and what they can afford
Yeah.
and what they actually want to spend.
And if they're booking a hairdresser, whether it's in the salon or coming to them, what about makeup? Should it be before or after?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because they're
I think if you're putting the hair up and the hair's all been pre-washed and everything's been arranged beforehand, I think the makeup or the hair should be done first and then the makeup.
and then the makeup,
And then
because
the
you can
makeup,
just
and you
clip
work
back
with it.
something while
Exactly.
they do
Yeah.
the makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, you've got hairspray, you've got water sometimes involved.
And
you
then
don't
they're
wanna smudge
nervous
your
and
makeup on there.
sweating, and
Yeah.
makeup doesn't hold as well. You can spray hair and it'll stay there.
Yeah, well, I've always found that when you're doing a wedding, it's best to take the bride off to a separate room if you're going to their house or out of the way of everybody else, and just focus on that person without having interruptions. I remember I had somebody come in a few years ago, and we were doing all these trials, and the mother was basically telling me what to do with the daughter, and the daughter was like really embarrassed because of her mother.
Yeah.
And I mean, halfway through, I just said, look, this is not going to work. Either I'm going to make 2 suggestions. Either you go away or you do it.
Yeah.
Because I can't work with all this pressure of having you telling me what to do. I'm not really not interested in what you want. I'm interested in what your daughter wants, the bride. And people forget that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's her day.
Yeah.
But mothers tend to think it's their day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
You know, Mother's Day was yesterday. That was their day.
Yeah.
So I guess the best advice we can give brides when it comes to hair, dresses, everything is just smile, relax,
Enjoy it.
take a breath, and enjoy it. Let
Yeah.
somebody come and pamper you.
Yep.
Do the pre-stuff
And
pre,
plan ahead.
and let the hairdresser come that already knows what you want. Kick your mother out. Kick everybody out.
That's right, and just enjoy it. I mean, if you want to have a couple of the girlfriends are fine because
Yeah.
they just want to have fun too, and they want to enjoy the experience too.
Maybe there should be drinking involved.
Well, you
I
do
think
get that,
Prosecco,
and that can
Prosecco would solve all that, wouldn't it?
that can get out of hand too, especially
Jason.
when they haven't had breakfast.
Click the channel subscribe button for full-length interviews and more from What She Said here on YouTube.